Pat, going to challenge the decision to the tribunal. Can you just take us through your interpretation of what happened?
We're not sure yet, to be honest. I'm meeting with Andrew Mackey and our lawyers post this, so until we've done that, gone through the vision and sort of spoken through it, we'll sort of come to that decision.
Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, of course.
Are you confident that if you were to challenge it, you'd get off?
It's a good question. It's probably one more for the interpretation of how lawyers see these things. I'm not going to get into a slanging match over how things are adjudicated at the moment, though.
Were you conscious when you laid the fact of trying to, just provide a duty of care?
I'm not going to comment on it right now, Pete, simply because we haven't gone through that conversation yet with our lawyers, and if we are to challenge it, then quite clearly it's important to have our view of things and how we're going to put forward that case should it happen. So I'd like to answer the question, but I'm not going to.
Do you feel it's difficult for players to expect players to, in these split-second moments to not grab an arm, or when you're trying to tackle a player like you did with Sam?
It's a tough game to play. It's a tough game to adjudicate. Quite clearly, there's been a change over the last few years of understanding where concussion is at, the importance of it, and how we treat it. And that's probably where my commentary this morning sits at with all.
How's your time run that both first?
Not just yet. They're still working through the scan results. We're able to get scans over the weekend, but there's a bit of complexity around it. So I dare say it's probably a question for our medicos and for really experienced people in that industry, and we haven't quite got those opinions yet. So there's a fair bit to work through. Quite clearly, Tom's had a history with that foot as well, Pete. So that sort of adds the complication and the challenges with understanding scans when there's a fair bit happening there already, whether it's new, whether it's old, and all those sorts of things. So we'll get a greater picture with that probably today, tomorrow, and potentially the back end of the week.
Have you spoken to him much? How is he going?
Oh, he's in good spirits, yeah. I was chatting to him yesterday. But you've got to be conscious as a player. The last thing you actually want when you injure yourself is every single player asking you, how are you, how are you, how are you? So it's a fine balance there. We'll provide all the support, as we always do with all our players, for the big man. We'll just be patient in terms of where it's all sitting. We're not going to speculate on what it means longer term, what it means in the short term. We'll wait for the absolute best in that field to provide the best possible information and opinions on it.
Have you had a chance to digest the game in its entirety? There's a lot going on.
Not really. We've got our team meeting this morning. We'll review some stuff. For the most part, we were well beaten clearly, but the game was 4 goals at 3/4 time, and you can go two ways. You can be thereabouts and protect the scoreline, or you can have a swing. We'll always have a swing. And that's sort of reflected, I think, in the final margin. So there's certainly things that we can improve on. There's some things that we did well, and there are little tweaks to make that can improve our game, I think.
Well, the things you were picking up from the sidelines that you picked up on Friday night as well, you go, I could see that happening in the previous 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm seeing it out here as part of it.
Always way easier in the coach's box and in the stands, Kingy, to see what's happening versus on field, because you've got the cut and thrust and the emotion, and then you've got the vantage point. So, not really, to be totally honest. There's always nuances in games. And sometimes the bounce of a ball can affect the next 5 minutes of play. So, the statistics show you one thing, but there's some decision making from us where we're turning the ball over in a position that's pretty much impossible to defend. So it sort of turns an opportunity for you to take the ball inside forward 50 and to score into an opposition score, and all of a sudden it can be a 12-point turnaround potentially.
Clearance and midfield battle has been a constant problem throughout the season for you guys. How do you feel you can bridge that gap between you and other sides in the midfield?
Yeah, that's a challenge. I think we were a lot better in the centre bounces. We won those over the weekend, but quite clearly the stoppages around the ground were, we weren't at our absolute best. I think we contributed to that with how we exited the ball at times though, and succumbed to the pressure that they put on us around it. So, we'll continue to look at that and look at ways to improve.
Where's your hunger at for this year? Are you still chasing the flag, or are you looking to develop a group that can...
I think it's time to quit, Pete. Yeah. There's only 9 games left. I don't think there's any point.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, you're obviously the transition phase of the list. How...
The list is always in a transition phase. I think that's regardless of whatever position you're in, whether you're in 17th or you're in first. The list is always looking to transition, always looking to improve, or every list should at least. And we're no different to that. And there is a fine balance between providing opportunity, clearly, that's important, and picking the best side, and that's sometimes the catch-22 of experience versus and youth and injecting new players into the team. So we'll always pick the best team, but at times it does provide opportunities to blood some younger players, but we still feel we're absolutely in the hunt this season. There's a few little tweaks that we need to make in order to improve, that's clear, but by no means is it insurmountable.
How have you pulled up from the game?
I was pretty sore from Auskick yesterday. That was 2 hours of my life that was tough. That's the croaky voice, but really good. Yeah, it was great to be back out playing. It's one of the things that when you spend time on the sidelines, it really does reinforce what a joy it is to play the game, how fortunate we are as players, and you can lose sight of that at times, I think, when you're in the cut and thrust and the grind of playing every week. But the longer your career goes on, and when you do have those times on the sidelines, it nothing but reinforces just how special the game is to play in front of packed out crowds and the passion that everyone shows. So it was as disappointing as the game was. To be honest, it was so wonderful to be back out there playing.
How can you help Tom Stewart get back to his best?
Well, to be honest, Pete, I thought Tom played pretty well. Quite clearly, there's an opposition focus every week. And if I swing back to sort of, where we're at 3/4 time, it's like we can batten down the hatches and keep the margin sort of where it's at, or we can have a crack and do something different. So, we're always going to have a go at it. It didn't quite work, that's fine. That happens often. So we still feel he's very much contributing to the team, and I thought he was one of our better players in the night.
You declared yourself ready to go before the Sydney game, but you were held back another couple of weeks. Do you feel you were held back too long with your hammy?
No. I mean, you come back early and well, not early, but when you're ready, you do another one. Is it too early? Like, not at all. I have full faith in our medicos that they make not only the best decision week to week, but the best decision longer term. And you have to have faith as you get older, because the balance is the competitive nature of wanting to be out there, but the practicality of, we've still got a lot of the season still to go, and we still feel like we've got a huge amount we can still achieve, and feel like I can contribute to that.
Scott said post-game that you might have to get a bit creative in the back half of the year to address some holes. Who are some of the younger players you feel can help you in the run home and provide a bit of spark?
Oh, there's plenty. Shannon Neal played a really good game yesterday. Lawson Humphries, we've seen play some excellent footy. So we've got a lot of players we feel like at some stage will certainly earn their opportunity. And obviously Shannon's played some AFL footy throughout the year as well. So we won't sit on our heels. We're not going to sit in the corner and wallow about losing though. We've got to improve, we've got to get better. And that's one of the things I feel like we've always done really well as an organisation, and that's get back to work.
Have contract talks started for next year, the years ahead with yourself, or?
No, not at this stage. I'm really comfortable with where things are at, though, and I think the club is as well. So, plenty of time for that.
And country game this weekend against Essendon. I think you guys are going to be wearing.
It's the biggest game of the calendar. I don't know about you guys, but it's the biggest game of the calendar. I'm sure there'll be some sheep there this week. We've got some cows. We've got some cows there. No, it's great. It's a great recognition. I think quite clearly Australia's been founded on the core values of farmers and those are provided for those living in inner city. So I think it's a wonderful game to recognise how so many Australians live, and that is rurally. And we obviously understand that being in Geelong, not totally rural, but semi-rural. So yeah, it's always a game that I think invokes plenty of passion, and you learn a bit more about how some Australians live.
You mentioned contract before. Any offers put forward from Anglesey for your services?
Plenty. Yeah, the remuneration ain't that high though. We've got some challenges down there commercially, but we'll work through that.